Hello everyone, I am Siqi Peng from Kyoto University. Today it is my honor to give you the presentation of our research entitled Mining Disjoint Sequential Pattern Pairs from Tourist Trajectory Data. So, first of all, let me give you a quick view of our contributions. In this research, we mainly propose an algorithm for extracting disjoint frequent route patterns from a tourist trajectory database. Well, here, the disjoint frequent route patterns means two patterns having the same start, the same end, but passing through completely different paths. The extracted patterns are useful to solve some real problems like travel route planning, and the algorithm has a relatively low time complexity on the real data. To better explain these contributions, we have organized our presentation into these three parts. First, I would like to introduce the background knowledge of sequential pattern mining and trajectory data mining. And then I will give you the introduction of my proposed disjoint sequential pattern pairs. And last, I will introduce the mining algorithms as well as the experimental results. So let's move on to the background of sequential pattern mining. Well, generally, it is a task of extracting frequent ordered patterns from sequential databases. Here, sequential means that in the database, every record should be an ordered list of items. And in this case, we say a short pattern matches a record, or a record supports a pattern if the pattern is a subsequence of the record. So let's see here for an example. Pattern ABC matches 3 records in the database. So we say pattern ABC has a support value of 3. And the goal of sequential pattern mining is to find all these patterns having a support value larger than a threshold. Sequential pattern mining is a real research topic, and currently there are many state-of-the-art algorithms and a wide range of application. But in this research, we mainly focus on its application in trajectory data mining. It is a task of extracting frequent moving patterns from trajectory data. Because these trajectories can be considered as contiguous sequences, we can solve the task of trajectory data mining with the following procedure. First, we discretize the map into a mesh. Then we write these trajectories into these sequences of grids. And last, we can use a sequential pattern mining for list of frequent sequential patterns, and they can be used as the frequent moving patterns. But sometimes we also want associated pattern pairs besides the single patterns. So how do we find these pattern pairs? Well, generally, we can generate all sequential pattern pairs and check all pairs if they satisfy the conditions. The complexity of doing so is O(n) squared, where n is the number of all the patterns. Because we know that the n may be very large in real cases, we have another idea that to prove out candidates during generation. By doing so, we will have fewer pairs to check, and we will finally make it fast. In this research, we have proposed a special type of associated pattern pair called disjoint sequential pattern pair. It can indeed be mined with the idea we introduced before. So let's see its definition. Well, the two patterns P and Q are called a disjoint sequential pattern pair if they satisfy all these three conditions. The first is that they should have the same start and the same end. The second is that they should pass completely different paths. And the last one is that there should never exist any hybrid pattern in the database. For example, if we say pattern P is disjoint with pattern Q, then if we take a part from pattern P and another part from pattern Q to form a hybrid pattern R, we should know that the support of pattern R is 0. So this disjoint frequent sequential pattern pair cannot only be solved with the idea we told before, it is also very practical useful. Let's see here for an example. See, you are now hiking in the mountain and you have found a lake, but you do not know where if there is a bridge on the lake, and you have collected the data of the previous mountain climbers, and you find that ABD and ACD are disjoint, And in this case, you may infer that there is no bridge over the area ABDC. This means that by using disjoint sequential pattern pair mining, we can know very valuable information. So it is worth mining. And let's see the mining algorithm. The main idea of this algorithm is to use prefix span for mining frequent sequential patterns first, and then we find separable short sequences to filter these candidates. Let's see here for an example. Here we say this database is separable with SAT and SBT because it can be divided into two parts. And in the first part, every sequence supports SAT, and in the second part, every sequence supports SBT. However, this database is not separable with SAT and SCT because there are some sequences matches not only SAT but also SCT. So what can we do with these separable short sequences? Well, just consider if two sequences are considered disjoint, then all of their short subsequences should be separable, like this. So with this property, we may be able to carry out the flow of our algorithm. First, from the database, we use prefix span to list all frequent sequential patterns grouping by their first item. Then, from each group, we find the separable pairs and use them to check the patterns. If we find a pattern containing an item which does not belong to any separable pairs, we prune it out because it is impossible for it to form into any disjoint sequential pattern pair. Then, with all the remaining patterns, we make pairs and check if they are disjoint with the property we said before. And as you can see, the complexity of the whole making pairs is O k squared, and the complexity of checking each pair is O length p squared. Because we do not know the size of the k, we have conducted empirical studies to see that if our algorithms really work well in real cases. We have collected data of tourists traveling around Japan with the sponsorship of North Korea's company, and this is our These are our results. In the first two graphs, we have shown the running time and the count of pattern pairs when running on a real database. And we can see that if we tune the minimum support to a proper level, it will remain at a low level. However, just see the results of the artificial database. We will see that the number of the patterns and the runtime are a lot more higher and longer than that of the real database. This means that the disjoint sequential pattern pairs are not so common in the real database, but it could be more common and more frequent in the artificial database. So this means that in real cases, the feature of the database allows us to mine these patterns fast. So that's all about the experimental result. And as for the quality of the mining patterns, we have a very interesting finding. And see here is the red route is moving from the commercial center Nishinjuku to the front gate of the Meiji Jingu Shrine. And the yellow route starts and ends at the same place but passes via the famous mountain Fuji. Well, the interesting thing is that we have found that the yellow route is actually disjoint with the red route. This means none of the tourists moving along the yellow route have visited Meiji Jingu Shrine, even though they have passed it. Well, we think the reason may be that the yellow path is a famous bus tour, and of which the plan does not include the Meiji Jingu Shrine. So from this example, we can know that we can also find exclusive tour plans with the help of disjoint sequential pattern pair mining. That would be a very interesting thing we haven't considered at the beginning. So that's all about our presentation. Let's have the conclusion. In this research, we defined disjoint sequential pattern pairs and developed an algorithm for mining it. The algorithms works well in practical case, and the mined patterns are also useful in solving practical problems. Thank you.